Nature does not always give people enough time to be afraid. Sometimes it arrives on what seems like an ordinary morning. Sometimes the very first sign is also the moment when it is already too late. They did not enter those places expecting to face death. They were simply living, working, and traveling, until nature changed faster than humans could escape. On June 25, 2025 in Largo, Florida, an elderly resident was inside her mobile home when a sudden storm moved in. A moment she would likely never forget. As the storm began to approach, no one expected it to be powerful enough to tear through an entire mobile home community. Inside a small home, the elderly resident remained believing she only had to wait for the rain to pass, just as she had done many times before. But this time, what was coming was more than just strong wind. Within seconds, the house began to shake. Loud impacts echoed through the walls and roof, and then everything suddenly spiraled out of control. A tornado tore through the neighborhood and lifted the entire home off the ground. When the house came down, the living room area was almost completely destroyed. The chilling part was that the resident had been near that area only moments before everything was swept away. A difference of just a few seconds, and this story might not have ended as a miracle of survival. The tornado was classified as an EF1 and touched down shortly after 7 p.m. It damaged a retail store before moving northeast toward Ranchero Village, where several other mobile homes were also heavily damaged. The damage path stretched for about 2 miles, with peak winds of around 90 miles per hour. Some reports suggested that winds may have reached as high as 110 miles per hour. But while danger in Florida came from the sky in Türkiye, it came sliding down a mountainside right beside a passing car. But while danger in Florida came from the sky in Türkiye, it came sliding down a mountain slope beside a moving car. In Mersin, Türkiye, a 55-year-old driver was traveling along a coastal road after several days of heavy rain. It was a journey he would likely remember for the rest of his life. From the outside, the road still appeared passable, but beneath the surface, the entire area had already become unstable. On one side was a rain-soaked mountain slope. On the other was a narrow road edge with water and a dangerous drop below. As the car entered that stretch, it was not simply driving through light flooding. It was moving directly into the path of a landslide. Then that moment arrived. A delay of only a few seconds could have buried the vehicle or pushed it off the roadway entirely. There was a protective rockfall net above the road, but it was not strong enough to hold back an entire section of waterlogged earth. This was danger coming from the very road that had appeared safe only moments earlier. Fortunately, the driver was rescued and suffered only minor injuries. But not every disaster gives people time to escape. Sometimes the danger has been building silently for years. In 1998, a single-arch steel bridge was completed at Nanfang'ao Fishing Harbor in Taiwan. It was the only bridge of its kind in the country. The bridge replaced an older route below and created enough space for fishing boats to pass safely through the harbor. For more than 2 decades, it had become a familiar part of daily life around the port. Then on October 1st, 2019, it suddenly collapsed. The bridge fell directly onto fishing boats moored below, injuring more than 20 people. 6 people had been on the bridge at the moment of failure. Even more frightening, a fuel tanker also fell with the collapsing structure and exploded after hitting the ground. The driver and everyone on the bridge survived. But the investigation later revealed that serious problems had been ignored for years. During the 21 years after it was built, the bridge had only been inspected a few times. The steel support cables had suffered severe corrosion from the marine environment, leaving them with only around 22 to 27% of their original strength. A structure built to connect 2 sides of a harbor had become a warning. On July 26, 2018, near the city of Redding, California, the sky above the Carr Fire was at first filled only with smoke. Days earlier, the wildfire had spread across dry hillsides after a prolonged heat wave. Trees had been drained of moisture, the ground was scorching hot, and firefighters were still trying to keep the flames away from nearby neighborhoods. But by late afternoon, the fire began to change. Extreme heat pushed smoke and hot air straight up into the sky. At the same time, winds at different altitudes blew in different directions, causing the rising smoke column to begin rotating. At first, it was only ash and smoke swirling upward. Then it grew stronger, pulling flames, burning branches, dirt, rocks, and debris into a massive column of air. Within minutes, a fire tornado formed in the middle of the wildfire. Scientists later determined that the fire whirl produced winds comparable to an EF3 tornado, strong enough to knock down large trees, damage homes, and hurl heavy objects through the air. What made it so dangerous was that it did not behave like an ordinary wildfire. It created its own wind, it pulled in more oxygen, and it could suddenly change the direction of the flames. A dry forest, a rising column of smoke, and only minutes later the fire had transformed into a tornado, burning from the inside. By August 30th, 2018, the Carr Fire was finally fully contained. After more than a month of burning, the area around Redding was left with blackened trees, collapsed homes, and roads covered in ash. More than 1,600 structures were destroyed. Many families returned only to find concrete foundations, burned vehicles, and entire neighborhoods erased from the landscape. Carr Fire showed that a wildfire does not only spread across the ground. Under extreme conditions, it can generate its own wind change direction without warning and transform into a spinning inferno. But when heat is no longer pulling fire into the sky, the atmosphere can still send down another kind of danger. Hailstones large enough to shatter car windows in only a few seconds. Hidden beneath the turquoise waters of the Caribbean lies one of nature's strangest and most astonishing masterpieces, the Great Blue Hole. In 1971, Jacques Cousteau descended into the Great Blue Hole and described it as one of the most mysterious places on Earth. With exploration technology still extremely limited, at the time, his team moved down through crystal clear water until they reached a discovery no one expected. More than 40 meters below the surface, they found enormous stalactites and stalagmites, evidence that this place had once contained air-open space and light. That discovery proved that this vast blue hole was once a dry cave formed during the ice ages, when sea levels were far lower than they are today. In other words, this is not simply a structure submerged beneath the sea. It is the remains of an ancient cave, a relic from the Ice Age, where layers of rock still preserve climate secrets that existed long before human civilization. What first appears to be a bottomless blue abyss is actually a geological archive beneath the water, revealing how this planet has been shaped through thousands of years of change. Earth's crust, which seems calm and stable, actually conceals violent processes that never cease to transform the world. When magma at extremely high temperatures comes into direct contact with water, the water can instantly vaporize. If the amount of water, pressure, and magma composition align under the right conditions, the steam expands explosively, shattering magma into fine particles and triggering a violent eruption, a phenomenon known as a phreatomagmatic eruption. In the collision between fire and water, Earth unleashes its fury. A scorching explosion transforms water into steam with devastating force. Within seconds, fragments of crust, glowing hot debris, and volcanic ash are blasted into the sky in supersonic plumes, like the scream of a volcano rising from the depths of the world. This type of eruption has been documented in regions such as Yellowstone National Park and remote parts of Alaska, where temperatures can exceed 1,000 degrees Celsius. But when speaking of the most extreme phreatomagmatic eruptions, one name and one year stand as the ultimate symbol of destruction: Krakatoa, 1883. In the Sunda Strait between Java and Sumatra, the island of Krakatoa became the epicenter of one of the most catastrophic explosions ever recorded. The extreme interaction between magma and seawater unleashed destruction on an unprecedented scale. The island of Krakatoa shattered apart in the roar of steam and fire. The sea boiled, the sky darkened, and the world witnessed a scene of devastation that would echo through generations. The final explosion was not merely a blast, it was a shockwave that reverberated across the entire planet. The sound was powerful enough to rupture the eardrums of sailors 60 kilometers from the epicenter. 2/3 of the island simply vanished in a sudden collapse. Skeletons drifted for weeks among volcanic rocks thrown into the sea. Across Europe, the sky glowed orange for months. In Rio de Janeiro, more than 17,000 kilometers from the eruption site, people witnessed sunrises and sunsets stained a deep crimson, as though the world itself had been painted red. There was no longer a blue sky, only an apocalyptic landscape colored by the ash of a distant catastrophe. For months, the heavens seemed to bleed with volcanic dust. Suspended volcanic particles created sunsets so intensely red that firefighters in New York City and London were called out because people believed distant fires were burning along the horizon. Tsunamis reaching heights of 40 meters swept entire coastlines away, carrying towns off like dry leaves on the water. On the very waters where that fury erupted in 1883, Krakatoa left behind a successor, Anak Krakatau, the child of Krakatoa. born in 1927, this volcanic island remains active, with eruptions continuing to be recorded to this day. Every eruption writes another chapter in a story that has not yet reached its end. Walking through a tropical rainforest at night can feel like stepping into absolute darkness until a mysterious blue glow begins to emerge among damp leaves and decaying tree trunks. Those are bioluminescent mushrooms. These silent organisms transform the forest floor into a starry sky on Earth, glowing through ancient chemical reactions that continue to challenge humanity's understanding of life in darkness. Unlike fireflies, which glow to attract mates, these fungi are believed to emit light in order to attract insects that help disperse their spores. The chemical reaction responsible for that glow involves compounds known as luciferin and oxygen, creating a spectacle that can last for hours. On moonless nights, these tiny lights appear like gateways to another world, a reminder that even in darkness, nature always finds a Few people know that the Arctic tern undertakes the longest migration on Earth, more than 96,000 kilometers every year. Thanks to tiny tracking devices, scientists have discovered that these birds use wind currents to conserve energy, even adjusting their routes to follow regions with more sunlight. Even more extraordinary than the distance is their precision. These birds can return to the exact same nest year after year with astonishing accuracy. Studies show that they use Earth's magnetic field as a natural compass. Some individuals can even alter their flight paths during migration when the climate changes suddenly, an impressive ability that scientists are still investigating. Thanks to their remarkable navigation skills, Arctic terns migrate between the Arctic and Antarctic, continuously following summer in both hemispheres. By doing so, they accumulate more hours of sunlight than any other known creature, enjoying an almost endless summer and completing the longest migration in the animal kingdom. In the mountainous regions of Guatemala, where volcanoes dominate the horizon, a rare and powerful spectacle sometimes appears volcanic lightning. First, the silence is shattered by an explosion from deep within the earth. Ash rock fragments and superheated gases are blasted several kilometers into the sky, forming a dense and violent plume. Inside this cloud, constant collisions between particles build up electrical charges until the darkened sky is torn apart by flashes of white or blue lightning. Scientists have found that these lightning bolts can stretch for tens of kilometers and can even serve as distant warning signals, helping detect eruptions in remote areas. Shaped by fierce winds and extreme temperatures, the Sahara Desert covers about 30% of the African continent. Yet beneath its vast sea of sand lies a past few would ever imagine. Shaped by fierce winds and extreme temperatures, the Sahara Desert covers about 30% of the African continent. Yet this sea of sand hides an unexpected past. Thousands of years ago, the land that is now desert was once a fertile grassland, filled with lakes, forests, and wildlife. Fossils reveal that giant crocodiles and hippopotamuses once lived there. But much earlier, millions of years ago, when the Sahara still lay beneath the sea. Enormous whales once swam through this region. A remnant from the time when the desert was an open ocean. Beneath the Sahara, vast underground water reserves remain hidden, formed by rainfall that fell thousands of years ago, with some water sources dating back more than 20,000 years. And although it appears eternal, this desert is far from unchanging. Which scene did you find the most dangerous and impressive? Let us know the scene number in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click on the next video on your screen to keep exploring some of the most intense and unbelievable natural phenomena on Earth.